Hey everybody, my name is Cory Rose and welcome to the Story Podcast live TV show.
Hey!
That's
it! What a great crowd! What a great crowd!
Yeah, I'm super happy with all the turnout, and today we have Mr. Quentin Jones himself.
Hey, how you doing? All right! And my band, obviously is the band, you know?
Shaking the kneebone, yeah, Quentin's at the devil. Shaking all over. When you come and you say goodnight to me, shaking the kneebone, Quentin's at the devil, shaking all over. When you come and you say goodnight to me, that's when I get the chills inside of me. Quentin's got me back. I got to shake in the kneebone. Yeah, Quentin's at the devil, shaking all over. Well, you make me shake and I like it, baby. You make me shake it, I like it, baby. You make me shake it, I like it, baby. Make me shake it. Bésame mucho. Y Each time I kiss you, I hear music divine. Bésame mucho. I love you forever. Say that you always be my cha-cha-boom.
So who are you? What do you do?
I have a fruit stand.
You know, we're gonna fix
I
this
sell
mic
fruit
problem.
on the road. No. My name is Quentin Jones, and I am the guitar player and the singer in the Quentin Jones Rock'n'Roll Review, which is a band that plays rock and roll, the greatest music of the 20th century, and we're keeping it alive, folks, because it's a lost art. Fewer and fewer people know how to play instruments and put together a band because they're all learning how to do things on the computer. And live music is an art form that should be kept alive. And my band and I are proud that we're doing our part to keep this great music going along. All right, folks, that was my magic microphone disappearing trick.
Yeah!
What gives me and my band the right to say that we're keeping this music alive? There's a lot of bands that say they play rock and roll,
But don't.
but we actually learned it from the inventors. Literally. I learned how to perform and how to play this music from a man named Charlie Gracie, whose guitar now resides in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. Now, Charlie was recording before rock and roll. This man had a career before they even invented the stuff. And in '57, Charlie had a big hit, a lot of hits, but his biggest hit was called Butterfly, knocked Elvis Presley out of the #1 spot. He was on the Ed Sullivan Show. He toured. He was the second American to go to England with rock and roll music, but the first guitar player. Like, the other guy was Bill Haley, and he's a singer. Charlie's a guitar player, right? So he was the first guitar player. So all the Beatles, the Stones, Clapton, all these guys, when they were kids, went to see Charlie play, and he was my mentor, and he's the guy that taught me. In fact, in Charlie's book, Paul McCartney writes the foreword. That's how important of a figure in the history of rock and roll this man is. And I learned directly with him. I did 4 albums with him. I toured with him. Charlie opened for Van Morrison. I was on that tour. And we made a record with a very famous producer named Al Cooper. And I learned under Al, I was the co-engineer and co-producer of this project. Al, he produced and discovered Leonard Skinner.
Oh, wow.
He produced George Harrison. He produced Bob Dylan. He played on Jimi Hendrix's Electric Ladyland. He played on, you ever hear the song, You Can't Always Get What You Want? You know the horn in the beginning? That's my friend Al. And these are the people that taught not only me, but the members of my band, because a lot of my band, and we'll talk about that, worked with me. These are people that up here on the stage with me are people that I've relied on for years to help do what I do, you know what I mean? Because it takes a whole crew of people, of talented people, to get it done. But I learned also from Robert Gordon. Now, Robert Gordon, you know him, you've heard him, but he's not a household name. The very first song in the movie Natural Born Killers is Robert Gordon, okay? The song Fire, I'm running, that was written by Bruce Springsteen for Robert. The Pointer Sisters covered it, okay? Robert was the first person to bring back what they called rockabilly music, which is one of the early forms of rock and roll. Because rock and roll is a combination of blues music and country music. That's really what it is. It's right? And they called it first rockabilly because there were certain guys that were a little more country than the blues. And there was a huge rockabilly revival in the 80s. You remember the band The Stray Cats? They're a rockabilly band, but they did it because of a band called the Rock Cats, who I wrote for and produced and played with. Not at the time, years later when they were a bunch of old guys. I got to tell you about those guys when they were kids, when they were young. Who's that guy with the Campbell soup can?
Andy Warhol.
Andy Warhol shot them. That's how good looking these guys were. I mean, Ralphie still plays with one of them. These guys are sitting around, they look like this, you know. Somebody walks in the room with the camera, boink, they look beautiful, you know. But anyways, they did it because of Robert Gordon. So my point is, these people that are innovators are the people that taught us. And that's why we feel that we have the ability, however humble it may be, to say that we're keeping this form of music alive.
So at what point do you come in the fray? Were you already a learning guitarist, or were you just a young buck looking for a gig?
There are pictures of me as a guy no older than 4 or 5 years old with a banjo or a mandolin. I always gravitated it. We had building blocks. I made a drum set out of them. Okay, to me, I learned early in my life, all I know is music and horses. And that's all I see, that's all I know, and that's all I do. And the music was so focused, to this day, I'm so focused on it, that most people think I'm not a lot of fun sometimes. Because I'm, you know, I don't care about music. Or my daughter. I care about her and my family.
That's fair.
And my friends, some of them. But as a thing that makes me tick-tock, it's music and horses. So I always into it. And I just told the story to somebody here tonight about in 4th grade, I wanted a guitar. And my mom, who was a trained opera singer, thought I was too young to have one. And she was right. I was too young. But my brother Bruce stole a guitar for me, a beautiful Epiphone. And he gave me my first guitar, and I carried that guitar all over the neighborhood because a friend of mine had a drum set. And we started a band. I had a little tape recorder. I walked my little chubby ass down there with my guitar, and we set it up. We wrote a song. I still remember it. Smoking pot, hot on pot, till you're caught smoking pot. We were in 4th grade. So that gives you the answer. But I never, I initially learned, and Ralph can tell you, Ralph, our keyboard player, he's known me forever. And when I first started out, I wasn't one of these I wasn't like Ralph. Ralph came out of mom's womb playing the piano, literally, you know. And I originally learned to play the guitar, not to be a guitar player per se, but to be a songwriter. My focus for the first 20 years of my career was in songwriting. I've written a lot of songs for a lot of different people that have been in movies and TV shows. Sometimes those chicks came in and kept me from having to eat cat food, which isn't too bad if you put some mayonnaise in there. But anyways, I wanted to become a better player. So I decided to really dive into the roots rock, rockabilly and things like that. Because to play that kind of music, you got to know how to handle some jazz. You got to know how to handle country. You got to know how to handle blues, which is one of my favorite musics. You got to handle all this stuff. And also, as a kid, some of the early Beatle records, they covered rockabilly classics.
Right.
You know? And then I got into that field, and I've worked with the Burnett's, the Rock and Roll Trio, Billy Burnett. He was in Fleetwood Mac. Anybody ever hear Fleetwood Mac? And his father and uncle wrote the song, "You're 16, you're beautiful, and you're mine, all mine." Come on, you sing the next part. Ba 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 ba. Train Kept a Rollin', Rockabilly Boogie, all these hits these guys had. And so, again, I was fortunate enough for these guys to take us under their wings. And speaking of the Stray Cats, I wrote a song for one of those guys, and they produced my earlier band. So I have quite the connection, and I'm in the Rockabilly Hall of Fame in Nashville. What that means, I'm still not sure. I never got a certificate. I didn't get nothing. I just got an email that said I'm in, and I'm on the website. But I was thinking it would be this big, you know, Wizard of Oz thing. And I would like to declare that, you know, it wasn't that. I said, yeah, you're in, kid. Leave me alone.
So you come in as a songwriter. Where do you think your biggest growth has been from your songwriter back then to now?
My divorce. Especially the first one.
Well, there you have it.
What happened, the reason I say that, and I'm not kidding, I judged a contest one time. It was a blues contest, and I chose this kid to win. He was like 20. And his mom came up to me and said, what does he have to do to be a better blues player? I said, first, he needs a substance abuse problem. I did. I said, and he needs to have 2 or 3 divorces and lose all his shit. Put 30 years in, he'll be an amazing blues player. But the reason I said that is because I've always been a guy that has believed in being the weakest link. Right here. If you're in the room and you're the most accomplished musician, you're in the wrong room. You always want to be fighting up. You always want to be challenged. My band, I tell you, I'm constantly challenging myself and them. I'm always doing that, right? So, get the hell out of here, buddy. That's my keyboard player for those
Ralph
in TV
walking
land.
out.
I said, if you're the most talented guy in the room, you're in the wrong room. Ralph
gets
leaves.
up.
Some of us are humble. But anyways. No, but that's serious. I remember when I got Robert Gordon, I played on one of his comeback albums in 1996. And boy, was I in over my head. Oh, and he was relentless on me. He was horrible to me. Thank God, because he taught me how to play. You know, he wasn't gentle, right? He would go, hey man, what's wrong with you? Come on. Here's the note. Play it. And he'd whistle at you, and you were supposed to play the note. But those experiences made me a better guitar player.
100%.
Because, I mean, if you're there at the end of the session, you did all right.
Right.
Charlie Gracie, one time, I did the tour. The story on Charlie Gracie is we were working on an album. Van Morrison calls him up and says, I love you. I would like you to open my tour. Can you get a band together? And Charlie had a band, but they were more of a loungy band. So he went to the studio band and said, would you guys like to tour with me with Van Morrison? And this was during my first divorce, when I was told, you'll never amount to nothing. Well, I'm going to amount to a Van Morrison tour. But anyways, he said, can you play the bass? I said, yes. Like nobody's business. Can you get a drummer? I said, yes. So he goes, all right, show up at the Philadelphia airport. I hung up the phone and called up my friend. Hey, can I borrow your bass? I've never played a gig playing the bass. I played the bass, but I never did a gig. The first gig was in Reno, Nevada, in the Frank Sinatra room. Sold out show. Ladies and gentlemen, please put your hands together for Van Morrison's special guest, Mr. Charlie Gracie. Curtain starts to go up. I turn around to the band and go, hey, I never played the bass live before. 1, 2, 3, 4. And that's rock and roll. And that's what we're about. We're purists up here. You know, we're not up here hitting buttons and switches and effects and all that. That's fine. That's a wonderful art form. I'm not putting it down. And there's people that do it fantastically, and there's millions of people that enjoy it. I am not saying anything against other types of music. What I am saying is in rock and roll, if you want to hear the purist, we're purists. And that means sometimes we miss the note, and we have no thing to fix it. We don't have auto-tune, we don't have backing tracks, and you see no pedals on the stage. In fact, if you show up on my stage with a pedal, now that's not saying, again, there are bands and projects that you must have that.
Right.
But what this band decided to do, what's going to make us different than every other band that somebody could hire or go see, what makes the Quentin Jones Rock'n'Roll Review, see, I was told to always put that name in. I'm not using the name enough. What makes us different is the purist, is the fact that we are not afraid to do it the way I was taught by the originators of this music. Literally, the first man out of Philadelphia that had a #1 rock and roll hit was Charlie Gracie as a guitar player. Plus, I got to work with so many people out of Philadelphia through another connection of ours. We work with some great musicians out of there from QDK.
Right.
David Alsikinen from the band The Hooters and Kenny Harrison who's played for everything. And through them and Charlie and everybody else, I've gotten to work with everyone from Dee Dee Sharp. Remember Dee Dee Sharp, soul singer? Mashed Potato and all those, right? To
Liberty DeVito?
Oh God, Liberty DeVito.
Yeah.
Got to play from Billy Joel's band. I had to walk in the studio one time with David Alsikinen and Kenny Harrison in his big room, and I had to go in there and try to make a session with those monsters. you know?
Annabella from.
Well, see, that's the other thing about the Quentin Jones Rock'n'Roll Review. This is the core band, right? What the video shows is option one. We're like, I see some people having Chinese food. We're like a Chinese menu where we have options, right? You can get just the band, or you can get guests. Some of our guests in the past have you remember the song, I Want Candy? Bow Wow Wow singer Annabella Wynn. Other guests include, you ever hear the song The Expressway to Your Heart, the soul song, The Expressway to Your Heart. Charlie Ingwe, he sings with us. He was in the band The Soul Survivors. So we actually have people that have had hits come and do our show. Or, sometimes somebody will want maybe some 60s Motown or Stax, so we need some female vocal. We have other members that we bring in. It's kind of like on Saturday Night Live, you have your feature players, and then your guest play, right? So when you hire us, you can hire us as little as this, or you can have a whole entourage of top-tier people that have been there and done it.
So if you had your option to pick, who would you like to have? Like, you have any pick of any artist in the world, what show would you put on with who?
I mean, I can't say that because I love everybody. I mean, Albert King, right? You know,
right.
Albert King.
Yeah.
All right. Okay. John Lennon. How about that?
Yeah, there you go.
All right. All right. Hermits. No, wait. I actually did play for them. Who remembers Hermits? They outsold the Beatles from like 65. They were the first boy band, except Peter Noone was no kid. He's a toughie, and that man can sing. He has no tricks with his voice. They had all kinds of hits. And that's another good opera. Going back to what I was saying about how you learn. Hey, we're doing a show up here. You got something more important to say?
No, sir.
Okay. Back there, humbling. What the hell's wrong with these people? Explain to the gentleman that that's part of my shtick. Okay. We were doing a show with Rocket 88, this legendary band out of Delaware. And the singer is telling a story, and there's a couple on a date, and they're talking. And I said, hey, you two can talk anytime. I said, take a listen to what this man has to say. He's a legend. He's not going to be here for long. Mm-hmm. Which was kind of mean, I guess. But so what was I saying? Oh, Hermits, right?
Hermits, yep.
So a lot of times, folks, for me, like, the drummer in the band, he was in a major band. He toured with his band on the highest level, and they went out. They were on every late night talk show. They were on the biggest record label in the world. They opened for some of the greatest people. He's had so much experience, but he got to do that as a group, which is really good. A lot of my touring has not been with my group other than the Reach Around Rodeo Clowns. We played every major club. I had a band called the Reach Around Rodeo Clowns. We played every major dirtball club in the country, literally. Everything from CBGB's to the Cat Club and what was that place where the kid died? Johnny Depp owned.
The CIA.
No, not that CIA. The one there where the kid died in front of the Phoenix's brother died in.
Yeah.
The Viper Room.
That's it.
Played the Viper Room to CBGB's. So with that said, I didn't do it though like Steve. But what I did do is I'm known in the business as a fill-in guy, the backup quarterback, right? Which is a tough job. And Hermits had me do a show, like about a series of about 20 shows. I don't know for sure, but it's somewhere in that neighborhood. And again, you get no rehearsals. You barely get a set list. It's kind of like they're playing a game. Fuck with the new guy, make it hard. And the first time I played with Hermits, 20,000 people. No rehearsals. Ooh. Not even a full sound check. First time I met Peter Noone was when he walked out on the stage. Talk about nerve, huh?
Yeah.
Now you know why I smoke so much weed. I don't. My body's a temple.
It's a pretty good one, too.
What did I tell you about that wise ass comments?
I'll shut up. Anyway, so
I'm only teasing.
I love Quentin.
Yeah, we go back.
Quentin had me booed not once but twice by a ginormous audience at the old tavern because I couldn't play tambourine to his liking. He had to pull me out. He was like, "Are you okay? We're good. Yeah, we're good.
I do a little teasing, but most people know. They see the twinkle and the smile. It's fun. Entertainment. Mm-hmm. When you come to my show, I want you to be entertained. We're not going to stare at our shoes, and we don't have a big message of whatever. We're having fun. It's what rock and roll is. That's why we're keeping it alive. It's not about giving some spectacular. Look, the Beatles, they were geniuses, right? It's kind of like Eddie Van Halen. Like Eddie Van Halen's guitar tapping. How amazing it is. That's the good part. He ruined guitar playing for 10 years because every guy that came out after him had to try to sound like him. Right? When the Beatles did Sgt. Pepper, everybody had to try to make their Sgt. Pepper. Garbage. And you know what the White Album was? The White Album was their return to rock and roll. It's raw, it's not overdone, it's not overproduced, and that's what we are. And if you like that type of energy and entertainment, we're the band you see. Now, let's talk about the members of the band.
That's what I was exactly about to go. So who do you have? Who's the core band? Go for it.
Okay. On bass is Mr. Patrick Redding, one of the sweetest people that ever walked the planet because he hasn't killed me yet. And I've seen it in his eyes. I've seen it numerous times right in his eyes, the hatred at that moment he had for me. And to this day, we're still together. He's a wonderful guy, fantastic bass player. And I met him in a band called Rocket 88. Again, when I joked about, and I wasn't joking when I said about the divorce, see, I spend a lot of time practicing. Right? You get a lot of time. So my second divorce, I was on my ass. And this band called Rocket 88, who's in the Delaware Hall of Fame,
That's
they're
right.
phenomenal. I saw this band when I was a kid. I was underage. I snuck into Tom Payne's back room, and it was the most amazing thing I ever saw, right? This guy, Doc Harmonica, he's not your typical rock and roll musician, you know? And I was like, wow, you mean normal people that I can touch can be musicians? I, as a kid, you know, I didn't realize you could go out and make a living. You know, that's all I ever asked of this. Just, I want to be able to do it and make a living. And I always wanted to be able to play with people better than me. Can I go in the room with these guys and not get thrown? I thought of that as a kid, right? So, with that said, Doc called me up and he goes, hey, I got about 80 gigs. Do you want it? I said, yeah. And Pat is the bass player in Rocket 88. And that's how I got to know him. On drums is Stephen Brown. He was in many bands, but his most famous band is a band called Innocence Mission.
That's right.
And they were one of the bands from Lancaster that made it
That's right.
a music scene. Okay? Now, when I was coming up, there was, I don't mean to be that guy, but in the 70s, you had basically disco bands that played in lounges. They were top 40 bands. They played the top 40. That means they played 40 songs a night, and they were the top 40 songs they were playing, which means it was the crap they were playing on the radio, right?
Right.
That was not what I was after. That's not what I was after. So there were a few pockets of original music. Innocence Mission, The Sharks, Ocean Blue, right? I was in a group of bands there was this punk rock band called The Bodies. I was in a band called Stiletto. We would do stuff like The Clash and The Pistols, but then we started writing our own songs. Because at that time, rock and roll, that's where I learned rock and roll. It isn't about how much gear you have or how many lessons you took. It's about you and you and you get some shit and let's play.
Right.
Right? Mm-hmm. In fact, that's how I teach. I have students, and I put 3-4 students together, and we play.
That's awesome.
And the guy that can't keep up learns to keep up.
Right.
And that's the heart and soul of rock and roll. So anyways, he was in a band called the Innocence Mission, and he also had a phenomenal restaurant in Ephrata called Lily's on Main. And he actually hired my band. He had a theater there. He hired my band, the Reach Around Rodeo Clowns, to play there. And he's nice enough, he lies to me and tells me it's one of his favorite shows, you know, because he knows I'd get hurt feelings if he didn't say otherwise. He made us dinner, he took care of us, great guy, fabulous drummer. On keyboards, I have one of my closest friends, Ralph Miller, and Ralph and I joke with him and everything, but this, what I'm about to say is serious. Ralph's one of these people that when I'm being a jerk, Ralph can quietly come up and say, you're being a jerk. And then I stop being a jerk. And I treasure him for that, because I know he's sincere. He's not saying it out of, you know, he really means it. But I knew him since 7th grade. I was in a band with his sister. I remember one night we played Spin the Bottle, and I made out with her.
What?
Yes.
During band practice?
After band practice. He wasn't in the band. He was older than me.
All right.
He came stumbling in the basement, stoned. He's been high since middle school. But here's what Ralph would do. I had a shitty little amplifier and everything, and Ralph was an older guy. Now, we're talking in, you know,
Months.
yeah, but in 7th grade, he was a 9th grader. That's huge, right? Because I flunked. Because I gave up in 2nd grade. I realized, I was like, oh, school, what a waste of time. So I stopped doing everything in school. I even got to the point in high school when they gave me a test, I'd just write on there, I don't know, I didn't study, hand it back. But anyways, he was a little older, and he would come in with his older friends, and he took the time to hook me up to his equipment. That's the kind of guy he is, you know. Normally an older guy would get out of here, kid, right? Mm-hmm. And But I will tell you, anytime I had a serious project, it was the first call. And sometimes he couldn't do it, but he was always the first call. If I need a keyboard player, if I need someone to help me with harmonies, if I need someone to keep me straight, he's the first guy. And here's the funny thing. He's a loose cannon. In real life, he's a loose cannon. But with me, he's a calming force. And he's probably the most talented, or at least in the top 5 most talented people I've ever been around.
Yeah.
It's true. It's true. He really is. Yeah. Hard to put up with, though. Very hard to put up with. And he'll smoke all your weed, drink all your booze. But other than that,
Stand-up guy.
yeah. Now, when it comes to our guests, it's everybody. Literally, we have guests, and I don't even, I named a few, but we literally have everyone. It depends what you want. Like, we do a lot of corporate work.
Yes.
A lot of corporate parties for big companies. They have the budget. And, maybe they want to bring something exciting and special to their audience, but they don't have the budget to hire Van Halen, right?
Right.
Well, they can hire us, and we can bring in somebody who had a hit record. And we'll give them an evening of fun, and they'll be dancing and screaming and having a good time, drinking. And that's what it's all about, When people want to be entertained, that's what I feel. My job is to entertain, not to do anything else. I don't have no secret hidden agenda. Just play music for you.
And correct me if I'm wrong, this is, your first or second year doing this?
No, you're totally
I am
totally
wrong.
wrong. So, where I got the idea to do this is from Charlie Gracie. Now, also, there's another guy doing it. David Alsikinen has a project that I'm in called David Alsikinen's in the Pocket. It's one of the biggest shows in the Philly area.
Right.
They just did a movie about David. I was in the movie. I was also in Charlie Gracie's movie. See, I never had any work done. One time I'm sitting at home and I get an email when I first started learning about emails. I'm sidetracking. I'll get back to the story. What was it? When did we start? I started this in about 2012, 2013. I was working with a partner of mine at a label called Lanark Records. And when I say partner, business partner. Anyways, we had this record label, and what was happening is we were starting to realize that maybe the label wasn't going to be where we thought it was. So I said, okay, I need to develop something that's entertaining, and I need to use all this stuff, all these contacts I have, and try to bring it all together. And I figured if I put something under my own name, people can come and go, and I don't have to start over. Because with the Reach Around Rodeo Clowns, if it isn't my brother, who's the singer, if it isn't the drummer, and if it isn't Jan and me, you can't plug other people in. That's the band, bang. Well, here I thought this could be something that, like even if Ralph, he plays with other people, so if there's a night that Ralph can't play, we get a substitute. I got to find somebody new because I just fired the guy that we did have, but that's a story for another time.
Right.
Now, I was going to tell you another story. What was it?
Well, that's how you guys getting started and continuing. And did you guys take a break during COVID?
Oh,
I
yes.
remembered.
Yes. Oh, during COVID, I took a break, but we started this. My story was, I just did the review show.
Yes.
Charlie Gracie, thank you. I'm getting a little older now. I started this when I was younger. I know that I don't need any work, but the old mind isn't what it used to be. Charlie told me of the days they had rock and roll shows, and these were cool stories. He told me that they would all sit around, like he did shows with Chuck Berry, Charlie Gracie, Fats Domino, Jerry Lee Lewis, whose sister I produced. There you go.
There you go.
Talk about dropping names. I did an album with Jerry Lee Lewis's sister. She's now touring the whole world. She's phenomenal. But anyways, Charlie said they used to have these shows that would be variety show-like, and they'd even have a comedian, there'd be some jokes, there would be a band and this. And I thought, gee, wouldn't that be kind of nice to do? Now, I don't want to get into the quote-unquote, I'm not going to have jugglers and stuff like that. But I like the idea, and we've done the show numerous times with many a guest where we have each guest come out and do 4 numbers. So we can do that type of show too. And that's where I did it. And I came up with this right when I saw the label going a little bit to the left. I thought, well, I need to get something going. And the first time I did this was at the first Roots and Blues Festival.
Okay.
And I had a great show, and we toured on that one for a little bit. So that's how this thing got started. And then as I got my second divorce going, I had Rocket 88 going, I thought, well, I really want to put a lot behind this, and I didn't just want to be a bar band. And that's why we have the show that can go like, you know, bigger or smaller. And that's why we're focusing on a lot of quote unquote corporate work, private parties and functions. So if any of you guys run a Fortune 500 or even a Fortune 10,000, even the janitor supply store. I mean, listen, folks, no kidding. One night on a Friday, I played with Bow Wow Wow in Chicago, and that Monday I played in a convent. So when I say I play anything, I will.
Got a gal so wicked and mean, but she's got big breasts. Every time I slow down, she won't let me rest. She come from hell. How's the hell? I go to hell. And she casts a wicked spell. To do whatever she wants. She made me her slave. All my friends are so jealous. They think I got it made. She come from hell. From hell. My girl's from hell. As the wicked. Around an open fire. She dances in the nude. She keeps me up all night long, practicing her voodoo. She comes from hell. Comes from hell. Comes from hell. And she does the wicked stuff. She comes from hell. To hell. My girl's in hell. And she casts a wicked spell.
So where do you want to take this? Obviously, you took a break during COVID. Did you like steam right through back into it, or are you starting to build it up into something bigger?
The second, we're really, so there's a lot of trial and error, right? It's not like I sat down and necessarily said, this is my plan. That's why I became a musician. If I wanted to do plans and reports and figure shit out, I'd work for a regular job, right? Seriously. But we kind of working our way around. The idea was always there. And actually, Pat and Steve and I worked for about 1.5 years just as a trio.
Okay.
And I still did the rock and roll review, and I used different people and everything. But as you get more comfortable with people, and I mean this, when I talk about Ralph, literally this band, I'll go to war with these guys. I mean, these guys are phenomenal. But they didn't just jump in as a unit. We kind of pieced it together as we went. Now that I have what I feel is fantastic security, then I can do funny things like jump on the chairs, because I've got a fantastic band I'll put up against any band in the country, any band.
Hell yeah.
That's right, I will. I played with the best, and I still do. And I still do. I played with people. I never had a hit record. I played with a guy that had probably 50 million records they sold. The only records I ever sold was when I had a part-time job at Harmony Hut. And we do originals. I was going to tell the original story. We do our own songs. Not a lot. Again, we're a rock and roll band. Rock and roll isn't... There was only a few people in rock and roll that were big songwriters when they first came out. Buddy Holly, Chuck Berry, but most of these guys weren't necessarily songwriters. So our goal isn't, again, to have a message. But with that said, some of the songs I've written have been on network TV, been in movies. So it's not like my songs aren't songs that people haven't heard. I've written everything. I had Linda Gale Lewis said to me, Quentin, because that's how she talks, Quentin, can you write me a gospel song? Now, I haven't been in a church since I was that high, wearing short pants. But I sat down and I wrote the lady a gospel song. So I've written everything. But the most interesting story about songwriting is this. I'm sitting at home. I get an email from somebody off of my email list and says, hey, Quentin, I heard the Reach Around Rodeo Clowns in a movie last night we were watching. Wow, that's really cool. I'm like, movie? I'm like, what movie? This is in 1998, before the internet. I said, what movie? He goes, it's a movie called Stunt Girl 2. I'm like, Stunt Girl 2? What kind of movie is this?
Right.
It's a hustler movie. It was a porno.
Nice.
Ooh.
2 of my songs were in a porno released by Hustler. One song was called She Sure Sucks a Lot. It was. It was a song about in the 70s. It wasn't what it sounds like. In the 70s, when you asked your friend who had the shitty car that was jacked up with the, V8, the hot rod, they call it, muscle car. They gave me a rod. You got any gas money? This thing sucks a lot of gas. Mm-hmm. And old surfing songs, Beach Boys songs, always referred to their car as a she. So I wrote a song called She Sure Sucks a Lot. Guess what scene they used it in?
I don't want to guess.
And the other song was called The Road to Hell. And in one part of the song, my brother goes, yeah! Guess what scene that was in? So somebody said, they didn't give you permission? I said, no. They didn't pay you? I said, no. Well, you should sue them. I said, did you ever see the movie The People versus Larry Flint? The United States government couldn't get them. How am I going to get them? But they did give us credit.
There you go. At least.
Hey, work is work,
Work is work. Work is work.
Right?
You still singing, still songwriting?
I have some songs that I'm working on, but the priority for this band is not my songwriting. The priority is entertaining and keeping a type of music alive. As I get around to it, we're working on a new one called I'm in Love with a Witch. It's a song I wrote one time. I was outside. I opened up my door. This is a true story. And a witch flew in on her broom. And she was in my house for 2 years, in my basement. It's okay when they get in the top or the middle floor, but when they're in their basement, they're really hard to get out. I had to go over to Lowe's when they were having a sale, and I got some Witch Be Gone. Shh, I sprayed that around, and she was gone. So I wrote this song called I'm in Love with a Witch, a real live witch.
There you go.
And people are like, yeah, what are you saying, she's a bitch? No, she's a witch. You mean she's a grumpy woman? No, she's a witch. You don't like her? No, I'm in love with her.
Here's the question.
What?
You're
supposed to be asking them.
I'm trying.
What kind of place is this here you're running?
No, I'll shut my mouth.
No, ask the question.
You're getting older.
Yeah.
What are some of the limitations that you're finding as you grow older? So, you do all these crazy moves with the guitar. When do you think that you won't be able to do them anymore? Is that something you're keeping in mind?
Charlie Gracie, last time I saw the man, it was during COVID. He was playing in the parking lot of an Italian restaurant. He was 86, about 4 months out from dying. So, does that answer your question? I want them to be nailing my coffin lid closed as I'm tuning up for the next set.
All right.
I want to be like Jackie Wilson, go out and never come back. Again, there's only two things for me: my horse, my guitar. I say I'm not a multiple choice kind of guy. See what I'm saying? I'm not hard to figure out,
Sure.
Cory.
Well, when are you going to start doing the show with your horse?
I do. You go on my Facebook page. Have you ever seen me on
I
my
have
horse?
seen you on your horse
So
with
why
the-
don't you, instead of being a Weisenheimer, tell somebody, what do you know about my horse? Let me ask you about my horse. Have you ever seen me play my guitar?
I saw you play guitar. I saw a little bit of you playing your guitar
On the
on the
horse.
horse. I've seen you having it rear up.
Rears up.
Yep. While you're playing the guitar with your hat. It's a sight to see.
It is. I rescued them.
Oh, really?
Yeah, they were going to cook them.
Oh.
Yeah, they were loading them on a truck, literally. And I didn't rescue them. What happened was there was a lady in Texas that rescues them. And what happens with young horses, if they end up in these sales, people don't want to train horses. They don't know how to train horses. This was an untrained yearling. So they run them through the sale, and they're not going to buy it for Susie or Jimmy or Tyler. So the horse gets bidded very low by the person who either A, takes them to the dog food place, or B, takes them to Mexico for the street tacos. That's what you're getting when you go. I'm just telling you, that's what they're doing. Because it's legal. It's not legal in the state. So they were loading him on the butcher truck, and this lady gave the people the money for the horse and then sent him to my brother and my brother's wife. Now, during COVID, I was living by myself, and I was in a neighborhood, and I made friends with some squirrels. And I would had the squirrels, they would come up, I'd open the door, they'd run up and sit on my lap, and I'd feed them. And my neighbor, at this time I was living in a community, and one of my best friends was the president of the community. My neighbor got mad because the rules are you're not supposed to feed the animals. I'm going to report you. And I didn't want my friend to get a report, so I stopped feeding the squirrel. And my heart was broke. And my brother said, why don't you come out to the barn and get some fresh air? Because, am I boring you?
I'm just making sure we're on time.
So he said, why don't you come out to the barn, get some fresh air? And when I did work for the family business, my thing was, we all had something that we did. My thing was working with the young horses. I was really good with them. I had patience, but yet I was strong enough to handle what needed to be handled. And he said, my brother said, I got some colts out here you can work. So I went out, and the first horse came out, I did a little something with him. The second horse, I did a little something with her. The third horse was mine. And as soon as the eyes, it was over. As soon as he looked at me, and he got so attached to me that they gave him to me.
Oh.
He literally, if I walk on the property, starts screaming until I come to him.
Oh.
Yep. And if other horses come around, he'll attack them.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. He's not. Nevy is his name, but I don't. Yeah, he came with that name. I asked him about it, and he said, should we change it? I said, nah.
I have a question. Still playing guitar, still practicing all the time. What are some of the techniques that you're still working on as a guitarist?
So that's a great question. Are you guys bored yet? Just a great question. So this goes back to the Hermit's Hermits. This is the determination. First gig I ever did, I was 16 years old. I called up every bar in Lancaster. And I finally got some poor guy said he would hire my band and pay me $50. We went into the bar, we started playing. By the second song, he stopped us. He screamed at us, "You're terrible, stop. You're disturbing my patrons." We packed up. I went to the bar, I asked for my $50. He looked at me funny, gave me the $50, and I said, when do you want us back? My point is, it's the determination, which leads me to the next story. On one of the Hermits things, there was this funky guitar part. It was really finger picking, like, and I was just so with it. And I was in Wisconsin, and I went to a music store, and I got this book called The Beatles Finger Style. I'm still working on it, and I can still do it, but
awesome.
I'll never play it here. I work on so many things you will never hear. The other day I was working on some Eddie Van Halen stuff, and I won't play it.
Yeah, I'd be shocked
There
to see you do
is,
that.
you would be shocked?
I'd be shocked in a good way. In a
I
really
can
good
do
way,
it with
yeah.
no pedal, buddy. Or maybe I'll throw that in on the next set. What do you think? Should I do it just to shut
You
him?
should do it, yeah, do it.
But there's so many things I do practice.
Right.
There is no, see, a lot of guys in my 20s had deemed themselves genius, perfect musicians and need not practice and look down their nose at me. And I knew that I'm going to practice for the rest of my life. And one day they'll be looking up at me. And these same people that used to make fun of me never dreamed that I would go on and play with the people I did. Because if you look up the people I played with, little boy Quentin Jones, who had all the records, who knew what band was what before I could read by what label logo they had, that's how much I was into this stuff. And all I ever dreamt of was playing with musicians. I didn't care about being a star. My mom and dad were stars. I grew up in a family of stars. I had rich people. My dad was a horse trainer. I know rich people, the Dodges. Dodge car, they had a stable. We knew them. What impressed me was music.
So, going forward, what do you want to show people? We've talked about this a lot already. You want to bring back rock and roll back?
It's not that I want to bring it back. It's just I'm keeping it alive. It's an art form. It's like I'm the last Tasmanian devil.
Right.
I'm the last whatever. Yeah. That's why I should be bred.
Well, because
What?
That caught me off guard.
What? I'm wrong here?
Well, no, because you're right. Because Chuck Berry, Fats Domino, Charlie Gracie, even some of the Beatles are gone.
They're gone.
They're gone.
And I have a direct contact with them. So all I'm doing.
Quentin Jones just died.
Well, exactly. And not just me. Like I said, everybody in the band, because these guys all work with me.
Sure.
All this stuff I'm saying, I, is really means to be said, band.
Mm-hmm.
And
the Quentin Jones Rock'n'Roll Review.
They're not sitting here. I'm sitting here. It's my movie I'm seeing. But you get my point.
Yeah, sure.
Right? And we have worked with these people directly. They taught us, literally taught us. I mean, I used to spend hours on the phone with Al Cooper, the most famous, one of the top 5 most famous producers in the history of popular music, right? This guy ran Polygram Records. This guy, Blood, Sweat, and Tears. He founded it. You ever hear the song, Who Wants Short Shorts? He was in that band. You ever hear the song, This Diamond Ring? Great song. There's a song called This Diamond Ring. He wrote it as it's like a Stax soul song, but Jerry Lewis's kid did it. And he heard it. He said, I hated it. It was horrible. It was a #1 hit. I hated it until the royalty check came in. He said, then I loved it. But anyways, I used to speak to him for hours. Now, out of that hours, you would get 20 minutes of rock and roll history and knowledge that no one else will ever hear, and 40 minutes of various medical procedures he's now going through.
Sure.
So we're just keeping it alive, and our goal is to entertain people. We're fulfilling the need. There's a need for this type of music.
I agree. No, and I'm so happy to have you on the show because that is part of the podcast part that I am trying to do because you said
you do a great job.
Thank
Cory.
you. I'm trying.
And why don't you talk about this fantastic place we're sitting?
Yeah, we
no,
should.
seriously. I teach. All I do is the horse and the music. I have a few students. I'm not one of these guys that has 40 students. I don't teach your kid. I'm not interested in your kid's fucking soccer game. Okay? But I do teach older guys and older women, couples, and I teach fathers and sons.
That's awesome.
How cool is that?
That's so cool.
The dad and the son get out of the house and do something without a computer screen. But in doing that, I charge a little more, but I keep less students. But here's the thing, it's the experience. And there's nowhere to go to get these experiences that I so easily talk about. Mm-hmm. My brother Wendell, man, you guys got to meet him. He's only ever been in one band. He used to say, going to New York for a sold-out show, he would go, why aren't the other bands in Lancaster playing up here? That's how innocent he was, And that's gone. You go to New York now, it's a mall.
Right.
CBGB's is a mall. So places like this are few and far between. So you talk about it.
We'll talk about this.
Don't let me interrupt you. One thing I can't stand is when a chucklehead won't shut up when you're trying to say something. Slow down.
We are at the Susquehanna
Speak from down here.
River.
There you go.
Creative Conspiracy.
See?
This is a gym for musicians and creatives of all sorts. So this is our main event space. We have our open mics here every Wednesday where we have all sorts of people come out. So like you said, if you want to come out here and get better at your instrument.
You have Wednesday night jam session, don't you?
That's right. That's pretty much it.
No, seriously, this place, I do say a lot of joking around and I'm twinkling a lot, but If you have the opportunity to get involved here on any level, do it. If you know anybody that likes to play music, send them over here. Say there's a really cool place that needs to be supported. It's operations like this that'll keep real music alive.
That's right.
Real creativity, you know?
Yeah. And you get, if you know any musicians that can become a member here, this is a rehearsal space as well. So during the week, you can come out, rehearse, schedule a block out.
And it sounds great in here.
It sounds fantastic.
I mean, really.
And we're always working on improvements. We're going to get a light bar. We're going to start soundproofing even more, making it sound more crisp, more cool. And we have a podcast room out there. That's where I do my regular podcast, the Story Podcast, without anybody else here besides me and the person. And then we have a art studio up there. So anybody that does art, if they need a studio, they can come up right here and get their own personalized art studio desk and do whatever they want. And then we have also a photography room up here. So if you need a band that needs a photo, send them here.
That's great.
One of the plans that we have is to create a place where you can get your media EPK, a press kit, right? Because that's what bands need nowadays to get a jump ahead of.
If you don't have a press kit and you don't have stuff, back in the old days, before even the digital press kit, one of the things that I was good at. See, the other difference between, again, Steve Brown, the drummer in this band, he was at the top level, right? I was at this level. He had, that band had one of the best managers in the country. My band had me. And we learned to do, and I would have traded spots with this guy anytime, trust me, Steve. But you had to learn how to get looked at. And if you didn't have your shit together, you had like 2 seconds. They would look at it and go, amateur, or I should pay attention.
Right.
Amateur, I should pay attention. And if you need to know how to, there's a certain way to lay things out. It is the music industry, but it's still an industry, and there's a certain way that they expect things, not just haphazardly.
Yeah, well, if you guys are so inclined, this is a nonprofit organization too, so if there are donation spots around the facility, if you would feel inclined to give, please do. Otherwise, please be sure to follow us on Instagram or anywhere else at SRCCPAArt. And that's also our website, .org. So please be sure to talk about this. We try to do one of these TV shows every month. Next week we have Tim Quiet's band, Super Genius, that's what it's called.
Super
coming
Genius.
Out next
they're
month.
really good.
Yeah, they're really good.
Tim can get on my nerves, but they're really good.
We're going to get to maybe some audience. Does anybody in the audience have any questions for Quentin that they would like to ask at all? If not, we're going to keep going. 2 more questions, and then we'll get back to the music.
No questions? That's how interesting I am?
It's okay. Hey, what's
Cory, listen, seriously, give me, here.
Hey, no, absolutely. Sorry.
Here, I'm a guitar player. You do a great job.
Thank you.
And we're going to play a few more songs, right?
That's right.
All right. And now, when you finish this video, it's going to be, when this is edited, it's going to be, you're going to see the band, right?
Right.
So you will see my fantastic players. Again, Steve Brown on the drums, Ralph Miller on the keyboards, and Pat Redding on the bass. Don't tell Pat what I said about him hating me, wanting to kill me the first 2 years of our existence.
What is the worst thing that's ever happened to you on stage?
One time in high school, I was in a band called Stiletto. It was before we became a punk band. They were still doing like all these other southern rock shit, and I convinced them to start doing more stuff. And we were in 10th grade, and back then it was a PA. Like nowadays they have inexpensive stuff that has quality. When I was growing up, you either had pro gear or no gear, right? So kids today, I mean, I see them on videos. They're in high school. They got, I'd have ripped your mom's eyes out for that shit, I see kids come walking in. I had one student come walking in like this. He's walking in, and one of the few kids I had, he's walking like this. Behind him is his mom with the guitar. I said, don't you ever walk in here with your mom carrying your guitar. What the hell's wrong with you? But we were in with all the other kids in my school, and they had big PAs, and my band didn't. So we decided we were going to rent a PA. So we all put in the money, and we rented the PA, And I was bragging to every other band, wait till you see the PA we got. Ha, is this what you're using? We're using a big PA. Ha ha, we're gonna blow you out of the window. We're winning the battle of the bands, right? So they set the, no PA. Our band gear, so no PA. Finally the guy pulls up with the PA, they roll the stuff in. Ready, ready, a 1, 2, 3, let's go. That was it. All the power blew out, they couldn't get it working. Oh, no. We forfeited, we didn't win nothing.
Oh no!
My girlfriend left with the other guy in the other band. My dog ran away.
Oh no!
Car had a flat tire. Ralph smoked all my weed.
Sounds like a country song.
It sounds like a country song. Hey, one last question. Where can people find you at?
You know, I'm working this out better because once again, the problem with musicians, the young musicians in my eyes, and you guys can make fun of me, but you should spend more time being a musician and less time with your fucking little shit and all that.
Oh, yeah.
Okay? Shut up. Shut up about your fucking website and all that dumb shit. Nobody cares. In rock and roll, can you play 1, 4, and 5? If
Sure.
not, shut up. But I'm trying my best. Thank you. And I'm trying my best. So I have a lot. You'll see me a lot on Facebook. That's usually where I post the gigs, okay? But I am working. I have a website called QuentinJonesGuitar.com. And I paid somebody some money to do a horrible job. And I got to fix it. You know, again, I've always been a do-it-yourself guy. I sat there as a kid and made my flyers with scissors, some glue, construction paper, and a stack of magazines. I cut each letter out and made it, right? You know, creativity. Be creative. I use Pro Tools when necessary, but I can also put on a roll of tape. And when I wanted to have reverb as a kid, I didn't go to the drop-down menu. I figured out what reverb was. And I put a speaker in the bathtub and a microphone on the other end. And we did shit like that, right? I took my mom's tape recorder. I was 16, 15, 16. My mom had a tape recorder, reel to reel. I went to Radio Shack, and over a year and a half, I bought these reel-to-reel tapes. Each reel, if you put it at the slowest speed, which is what you're not supposed to do, but if you put it at the slowest speed, you can probably get 3 hours, 4 hours on them things. I wrote a box of tapes worth of songs, and there wasn't a good one in there. Hours upon hours of bad songs. But there was this guy called Ernie in Lancaster. He had Ernie's TV repair shop. I know, they used to repair TVs. And upstairs, he had a recording studio. I didn't even know about it. And the first time I started fooling with my mom's tape recorder, I got this bright idea, which is always bad, that it needed oil.
Oh.
So I took some Singer sewing machine oil and I put it in there. Turned the machine on, smoke poured out of it. I was like, okay, I'm gonna die. Mom's gonna kill me. Because not everybody had tape recorders back then. So I went down to the Ernie's TV repair shop with my tape recorder, and I went in, and he was an old guy, and I told him what happened, and he laughed at me. And I said, I'm in so much trouble. He goes, kid, don't worry about it. Give me a few days, come on back. Went back 4 days later. Not only did this man clean it all up and have it perfect working condition, he showed me how to use it, and he showed me all this other stuff.
There you go.
I don't even think he charged me. He was a nice, I knew that man for the rest of my life.
Hey, well, let's go.
And the world needs that shit.
That's right.
Not more of your stupid drop-down, cut and paste, AI, soulless music.
Is that like Tiny Wright? Was he a guy like Tiny?
He was a guy like Tiny Wright. There were guys that were like that. And that's what I'm trying to be. I'm trying to be the person, you know, what few students I do have that are young, I'm trying to be, I don't let them do their shit. They don't come into my studio and not pay attention and roll their eyes and shit like that. I engage them.
Well, let's go play some music. How about that?
That sounds good.